Sound check 1 2 3. Sound check 1 2 3.
Thank you and welcome everyone to our Public Works Committee of June 9th, 2025. And I see we have quorum. We have Councillor McMeekin. We have Councillor Sparaforda just walked in. Thank you. Councillor Kassar, Councillor Matt Francis, Councillor Wang, Councillor Tatterson, Councillor Beatty, Councillor Kretsch, and Councillor Maureen Wilson. And online, we have Councillor Wilson and Councillor Nan. So it's Alex Wilson. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon and welcome. A reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Matt Francis, thank you, and Councillor Beatty, thank you. Is there any discussions? I don't see any. Show of hands, everybody, show of hands, that's good. I see everyone, and thank you, all in favor, and it's carried. Declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest? Okay, I don't see any. 5, approval of the minutes of previous meeting. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the previous meeting? Councillor Spatafora, Councillor McMeekin, thank you. Is there any discussions on the meeting? I don't see any, and vote of hands, please. Thank you, and it's carried. Item 7, items for information. May I please have a mover and a seconder to put the following items on the information on the floor? Can I have Councillor Wang and Councillor Kretsch? Thank you. And are there any discussion on the items? Councillor Wilson, Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. Before I begin my questions, I'm wondering if I could just ask staff to introduce the information item. Why is it here and what does it say? Thank you.
And it's 7.1. Thank you. And who in the staff?
Brian Hollingworth, Acting Director of Engineering Services.
Thank you.
We're very pleased to present this report. It responds to a motion from last December asking for more information on how the city plans and executes major construction projects. And by major projects, we don't mean just the routine intersection type improvements, but things that involve longer term closures, major impacts, for example, to residents and businesses. So this report documents all of the things that we do, starting with the early stages of planning, environmental assessment, where there's opportunities to shed light on projects, right through to construction in terms of what we do on a kind of a daily basis as projects are in the midst of construction. It does talk about the existing processes, and it doesn't at this point make recommendations on things that we could do additionally. And I think we welcome input on that. Our intent is to continually improve the way we do things, look at other cities for best practices, utilizing information and technology, and whatever we can do to really make it a little bit less painful for some of these major projects.
Thank you, Director. And Councillor Maureen Wilson.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. I really appreciate the thoroughness of this information report and the information that's also set out in the appendices, and very appreciative of Mr. Hollingworth and his reference to this is a starting point. Let me just say I am extremely pleased that this council has recognized a deficiency in our infrastructure expenditures, and I'm very pleased that this council has been proactive in relation to its water rates and in terms of its road reconstruction, allocation of funds to do those extremely necessary works that need to be done. I would like to ask through the chair to the director if he could comment on perhaps when might have been, to his knowledge, and if he doesn't have an answer, that's fine, the last time perhaps we engaged with the key stakeholders, primarily the business communities that reside along our major corridors where major work is being done, through the chair.
Thank you. And Director Hollingsworth.
Through the chair, I'll attempt to answer that, and if any of my colleagues want to weigh in. We do that through a number of ways. In conjunction with our our partners in economic development and planning, the planning department. We work with BIAs as much as possible where there is a BIA near a construction project. Very, very helpful. We receive input through, on the job. And you could just repeat your question through the chair again?
No, that's fine. I was just asking, what's our present practice for engaging with small, medium-sized businesses that may be impacted by major construction work that the city is going to be undertaking? And I think I heard you say you engage with BIAs when there are BIAs at present. You engage with economic development in advance.
Yes, just to add to my answer, we also, prior to construction, we issue notices. For many projects, we do walkabouts and door knocking and receive information that way. We try and get to the business owner as opposed to, just the person standing there to gather their insights, and find that as much advance consultation and discussion really helps the project when it starts to get rolling. We also try and get people to think about the project as it's done, and in many cases, it's a project like York Boulevard or Wilson Street results in a much better streetscape. So trying to provide some positive aspects to that as well. And as mentioned, we do work with economic development closely.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Just a last question before I cede the floor. And I do have a motion that I circulated in advance to my colleagues, whether they wish to have it entertained today, or I can introduce it at council. I don't have a preference. I'd like to probe a little bit more on the engagement with economic development, if you have that answer. And I should have given you this question in advance so that they could be in attendance. If we don't have the answer, that's fine. But is there an ongoing liaison or a person who continuously knows our capital works projects in economic development and who's there at the table at the outset, who takes that engagement with the businesses along the major construction routes throughout the project's lifetime span? Through the chair.
Through the chair. I would say it's an informal process, more of a dialogue and information exchange, reaching out where we think something might have impacts on businesses. There's no dedicated person for that. I do have Ed English on the line, who is really on the front lines. Ed is manager of construction, and he may have some more information to add.
Good afternoon, Ed English, manager of construction here at the City of Hamilton. Through you, Chair. Yes, we do. When the project is handed over to construction, our inspectors and project managers go out and hand deliver notices to all residents and businesses. Generally, when we drop off the notices with residents, we leave them in a mailbox. Sometimes information is via a door knocker pamphlet. With the businesses, we always stop in at the business and speak with somebody there, preferably a manager or owner of the business. So we let them know that construction will be coming through in the short term, and we try to stay in touch with them throughout the project when any major things are happening, like a concrete road base where they may not have access whatsoever, we let them know. So there is that consultation on behalf of construction.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, sure. Okay, Counselor Wang, please.
Thank you. I truly appreciate this report. I wanted to ask a little bit about Appendix C. Appendix C has all of the different various ways in which each division and department actually does their communication efforts. And as we can see, it is 11 pages of varying scenarios, varying levels of engagement. And I wonder, has there been any thought on standardizing or formalizing, so then that way the public has a little more of a understanding or cadence as to how these construction projects might happen? Because it feels like it's on a case-by-case basis, and Appendix C is just indicative of that. So I wonder, has there been any thought on streamlining this for all projects?
Director Hollingsworth?
Through the chair, you're right, it is a detailed appendix. We tried to be as detailed as possible because we're documenting existing processes. In terms of more simplified, publicly digestible information, we do have a lot of information on the city's website. If you just Google road closures or construction, you'll come up with the page. It kind of describes, in many cases, A, what's happening with a project, and B, what the process is. But I think, part of this exercise is documenting what we're doing and how we can improve, and what you suggested there in terms of a more standardized, digestible piece of information on how construction projects work and how we communicate with folks, I think would be part of the continuous improvement.
Thank you.
My next question through you, Chair, is helping me understand the types of, is there any two-way communication? Because again, as I look through Appendix C, a lot of this is one way, where we issue a letter, it gets delivered to the property owners or to the businesses, but I'm struggling to understand how any of those residents or community members would feel compelled or have an opportunity to have that communications back. So how does that potentially work, given the Appendix C currently?
Director?
Through the chair, I've learned that there's two-way communication on us almost on an hourly basis these days. But all joking aside, and Manager English can also elaborate on this, we do very often receive two-way communication. I mentioned even during the early stages through the environmental assessment process, getting people to understand the project, what its impacts might be, that in turn may influence the way we stage the project to minimize impacts, receiving information from the business improvement areas and residents. And it actually, I would say, very often influences what we do on the project. Councillor McMeekin is experiencing a major project with Bridge 451 Grindstone Creek, which will close Highway 5. And it's been a long lead up in terms of informing the public and businesses what's going to happen, and their feedback has been very useful.
Sorry, perhaps I should redirect then in terms of how I asked my question. I absolutely understand, because as ward councillors, we definitely get that second level of increased information. I wonder if there's a way to formalize that two-way communication, just because I think about there's a lot of meat and data that comes back from residents, from the community. I know that some of it gets captured in the environmental assessments, in the things that that we're legislated to do. But I wonder if there's any way for us to formalize that communication back on customer service, or on how they feel informed, or that potentially even to gather customer sentiment on how people feel about how the project is progressing. So I just wanted to understand, is there any mechanism for that level of feedback?
Director?
There is a feedback, and maybe I could ask Ed to see if he can comment more detail on how it's kind of recorded and used for continuous improvement.
Thank you. Yes.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the question. Through Chair, We do have recordings of everything that is coming into the construction services department, whether it's a phone call or whether it's an email from the counselor or directly from a resident. We take that in, it's filed, and the replies are also kept on the individual projects, on ProjectWise. So we do have all of the information that comes in, all of the replies back. As Director Hollingsworth had said, we do have an opportunity for residents and businesses to have input even before the project starts at various times during design stages. We usually have at least one or two opportunities during public meetings for residents to ask questions and get information. Sometimes even after the design has been done and immediately before construction is to start. A good example of that would be Bridge 451 in Waterdown, where we had a public meeting immediately before construction had started with residents, and then we had a separate one with businesses where they could ask questions and look for direction on detours and how to deal with some of their client lists. And so we do have a lot of back and forth during design, pre-construction and during construction.
Thank you. And Councillor Wang, your time's up, so.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Oh, great. Thank you. Next is Councillor McMeekin, please. Oh, Councillor Tadison.
Thank you, Chair. So in reading the report, I basically saw that it says contact is made with schools prior to construction. If possible and beneficial, construction will be planned to avoid the school year. My question is, does the city staff contact the individual school, or do they contact the board at the board level?
Director?
Perhaps I can ask Manager English to comment on that?
Manager? Ed?
Through you, Chair, during construction and pre-construction, we do contact the board, both boards in a general term, because all of the school boards will be affected on major projects in the city and some of the ones in the rural areas. We do contact the boards, and in the cases of a school being directly involved, such as Garner Road water main or the Wilson Wentworth Sherman project, as you know, the Cathedral School is right there. So we would reach out and touch base with the principals of those schools.
Thank you. Councillor Tadison.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. My question relates to transportation for school buses, because there have been a number of times out in my area where projects have been started, school buses have had to be rerouted, parents are not informed. So I'm not looking to point fingers, I'm just looking to how do we prevent such occurrences, which have happened 3 different times for me, from occurring in the future. If it's on the board, how do we communicate with the board that they need to do a better job?
Who would take that? Director?
I think it's a continuous dialogue back and forth with the boards. And your suggestion is right, that, we can only do so much. And the board also has to communicate the impacts and get it out to the school drivers.
Thank you.
One last question. It says notices are typically hand-delivered to impacted residents and businesses and emailed to ward councillors. Is there a process, or during that process, are the councillors basically informed the same time as residents are receiving those, or do we receive the email well in advance?
Director?
Ed can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our practice is to reach out to the councillors first, because you have the broader insight and intel. Oftentimes are also able to give us a heads up on localized issues, and that's very, very helpful. And then we would communicate to the residents. But it is pretty dynamic. Sometimes it's at the same time, depending on the type of project.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I guess my follow-up is just that I think all the counselors would appreciate that information well in advance so that we could do some of that proactive, actions before that becomes knowledge to the public. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McMeekin.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'll be brief. I want to compliment the staff on their report. I think it's identified some existing and potential shortcomings that can be easily corrected. Would just note that the earlier we can have contact is easier to make adjustments that may be necessary as we proceed with the project that could theoretically at least have been identified before the project started. So, but that having been said, there's mention of the bridge project in my ward. It was amazing to have 18 staff people out to, senior staff people out to a community meeting and to listen to all the input, and then finding the flexibility to actually make some changes to a project that was already a go. And I really appreciate the work that they did on that. And consistent with the report, I think we learn as we go, and I think the learning has been important. And I'm pleased to see the staff taking this initiative, and I wanted to say thanks to them for their willingness to listen and to make adjustments as we move forward on major projects like a major bridge that can affect traffic on a major highway, truck routes, bus routes, darts, you name it. Businesses, of course. There was a special meeting with the BIA in our community, which was very helpful as well. So thank you, staff, for that.
Thank you, Councillor, and you're right, communication is everything. Once we know, we can find the problem and resolve it. Next is Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate all the questions that have been posed to date and the responses. I guess I think there is an opportunity here before we can, as we continue with our capital investments, to have a look at perhaps to see what other best practices are active out there to ensure that we are early and often in ensuring that we have come up with a practice for alternative parking solutions, maybe a dedicated business liaison, impact assessments, improved directional signage and marketing, and also knowing that I think one of the fastest growing persons in small business happen to be, gratefully so, immigrant community, so that when we are dropping off letters or engaging, that we ensure that it's done in a language that perhaps is the first language for those investors. So to that end, my work thus far with staff has been extremely productive. I just think that perhaps if we put a little bit of time into assessing what is out there, what could be done, that if we engage with the BIAs and interested businesses outside the BIAs, particularly those who have experienced and particularly those who may be experienced according to our capital plans, we might be able to glean some things that have worked and some things that clearly haven't. And we're able to show that we're willing and able to improve on those. So if there are no further speakers, I did forward a motion to Elsie McIntosh, if she could kindly put it up on the screen for this committee's consideration of a next step of action.
So we'll do that now. Okay, can everybody see that, or would you like be read, or can you see it? It's nice and clear. I just want to thank you, Councillor Wilson, because I think in December you put that request, and it's so important, especially you're on the BIA committee, and you talk to small business, and they are struggling when things like this happen. So thank you for that. And would you like to read it? Or you want me to read it, or?
I'm more than happy to read it. I just wanted to ensure you to the point that you just made. This motion is informed by an accumulation of things. It's informed by the work that Councillor Wang has been advocating and instrumental in getting done on the Open for Business Subcommittee, also the aforementioned BIA Committee, and also with Councillor Crutch on the downtown, I know the name is going to change and it's a very long name, the Downtown Security and Cleanliness Task Force work. So it's not an orphan. It's been informed by a lot of work and a lot of councillors. So to that end, it's just 3 steps, 3 sentences, that staff be requested to develop a business-friendly construction policy that will deliver a consistent approach to mitigating potential challenges due to construction and improve how business and customers experience city-led construction while ensuring that the City of Hamilton continues the necessary investments in infrastructure and amenities for the benefit of all Hamiltonians, that this approach will include input from Hamilton's business community and their customers, partners in the construction industry, and city administration, and finally, that staff be directed to report back to this committee with the stakeholder feedback in Q1 2026. We'll take that, consider it, and then the next action would be a draft policy with recommendations in Q2 of 2026. And my seconder for this is Councillor Wang.
Thank you. And again, thank you for bringing this forward because it's well needed. So thank you, councillors who are involved in it. And we'll be voting by e-vote. Before we do, I want to welcome Councillor Jackson. He's online. Thank you. And we'll have an e-vote. No? Oh, more speakers. Oh, okay. They just came on now. So, okay, Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you, Chair. I indicated once the councillor was able to move and second the motion. Thank you, Councillor Wilson and Huang, for bringing forward these 3 steps. I think it integrates some of the feedback we see not only in the correspondence on today's agenda, but also integrates some of the points that we've heard pretty consistently at the LRT subcommittee as well. So to reemphasize and lift up what Councillor Wilson said, this is not an orphan request. It really does kind of bring together all of the comments that we've heard in multiple forums and enables the municipality to move forward with something that's consistent going forward with the recommendations that would come forward in the new year. So happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nan. Councillor Beatty, please.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I want to offer my appreciation to the mover of this as a business owner in the community, having been deeply impacted by several construction projects myself as a business owner. It can be a make it or break it scenario for particularly small businesses in our community. I think it's very timely. I was just in St. Catharines over the weekend and noted they have a major infrastructure project taking place there with the creation of a new GO station, and the level of what appeared to be municipally led support for the business community, signage, alternative routes, businesses are open, websites, be sure to visit the businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And I have other examples from other regions where municipalities have done radio commercials to remind folks that people are still operating businesses in construction zones during the period of these intense projects taking place. So I think this is leading us in a great place, and thank you for your leadership on that.
Thank you. That was well said. Thank you. I don't see anyone else on the speakers list, so we will go to an e-vote on this motion. Okay. Councilor Patterson? I get it. And it passes 13-0. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to move on to 7.2. Status of 32.7 million one-time Canada Community Building Fund. It's called CCBF spending. Brian Hollinsworth, Director of Engineers here. If there's any questions by any of my colleagues. Thank you. I don't see any, so we're going to show of hands, please, everyone. Even online, Councillor There you go, the thumbs up there. Okay, thank you. And we're going to, all in favor, and it's moved. Moved on. Items 9 for your consideration. Blue flag feasibility audit and costing. First of all, I want a mover and a seconder for this report. Councillor Francis and Councillor Councillor Spadafora. Thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Francis, please.
Yes, thank you. And I am going to move a referral motion. Just want to speak to it first, though. And I'll let my colleagues speak to it before I move that referral motion, but I have no issue with the Blue Flag program itself. There's certainly many benefits. I am just apprehensive of spending $2 million or over $2 million obtaining the certification, especially when there's required amenities like washroom signage, the accessibility mats, which are already on site, which is a part of the criteria to obtain that status. And I know these are extremely high-level estimates, and in my view, there has to be a way to meet this criteria at a significant lower cost. Based on my research, it's entirely possible. And also based on my conversations with staff for the last couple of weeks, there's an opportunity to nail down greater clarity on these financial requests. I do appreciate staff's work on this report already. It's certainly not a knock on the work that they've done. From my view, I represent residents along the beach strip who are amongst the highest residential taxpayers in the entire city, many of which are paying between $10,000 and $12,000 a year in property taxes. Some are well above that. With this in mind, I want to ensure that we're making sound financial decisions through that lens, and that's why I'm asking for this to be referred back to staff for more detailed breakdown and a serious effort to bring down the costs while still meeting the criteria in order to obtain that Blue Flag status. If we can achieve the benefits of the certification without spending the entire $2 million, I think that's what we should be aiming for, and I think it's entirely possible based on those conversations. So my referral motion, I'll read it, is refer back to staff for further analysis and a more detailed cost estimate aimed at achieving Blue Flag certification with direction to explore opportunities to reduce the overall investment required. I appreciate Councillor Nan conferring with me before the meeting and agreeing to second that referral motion, which I'll move at the appropriate time. After my conversations with staff, I appreciate their willingness to meet with Blue Flag, get this further clarification that I'm looking for. So with that, and oh, by the way, I was on the beach this past weekend with my kids swimming, and it was beautiful, pristine.
Was it warm?
It wasn't warm.
No,
It was not
I didn't
warm,
think
but it
so.
was nice.
Good. Thank you. Now, did you want to do your motion now, or we wait till the end?
Let
At the end?
my
Is there-
colleagues speak first.
Okay, so we'll go on, and it's Councillor Nan on the speakers list, please.
Councillor Pauls, if there's any of my colleagues who have questions regarding the report, happy to come back on. I was going to speak after the motion has been duly moved in on the table so that I can give my comments there. Thank you.
All right, we'll have Councillor Kassar then.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Pauls, and appreciate the opening comments from Councillor Francis. Reading this report, very much appreciated the work and the benefits of the Blue Flag designation. And the upfront cost did jump out at me, especially when we're looking to try and contain costs. And the way I was thinking about it, and my question is posed in such a way that to understand that better is, are we able to quantify the benefit of investment? Because making an investment means there's a return. So there's obviously very specific things around the Blue Flag designation that we would get, but from a tourism point of view, or attracting people to Hamilton to generate other revenues. When we talked about, the Juno's coming, there's a X $1 million impact. Obviously, it's not something of that scale, but if we don't know that, and I guess that's the first question, do we understand that? And if not, then I would suggest if that could be part of the referral too, to help better inform the money we're spending and then the benefit we'll get from that. So if that's
Thank you.
clear, Chair, through you.
Yes, it is clear, and we will ask Director Cynthia Grant.
Through the chair, Cynthia Graham, Director of Environmental Services. So to answer the councillor's question, I don't know that we have a good sense of what that benefit might be. Because it is an unmanned beach, I don't know that we have visitor counts or a way to quantify a before and then possibly an after condition. We do have trail counts, though, for that Breezeway Trail, and it's the most traveled, other than I think the Bayfront stretch over to the Desjardins Canal in the city. So, I mean, lots of people going by. Benefit to residents, I think, would maybe be a little bit intangible in that there may be a higher level of trust and confidence in the safety to swim, which is what we heard from the feedback about the Blue Flag and why it was important to investigate what would be required in implementing a Blue Flag program. But certainly we're happy to include some of that analysis in the report back.
Thank you, Director, and Councillor Kassar.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's very good work because, there are benefits if, the word is out there that Hamilton's water is clean and people enjoy it. It's good for recreation. It brings more people here. So, yeah, it may be difficult to quantify, but understanding the benefits to other municipalities and whatnot. So if that's possible to include in the referral, I think that'd be, yeah. Okay, thanks.
You're okay with that, Councillor Francis? A friendly amendment? All right, so we're going to add that, and we're going to bring, Councillor Nan, did you want to say something now?
Thank you. Appreciate that, Chair. Just want to say thank you to staff also for the thorough assessment, review, and report as it is on the table today. It is a pathway towards achieving Hamilton's first international status Blue Flag beach, and I concur with my colleagues around the table. It is a absolute benefit for us as a municipality to pursue it, but perhaps not an urgent one. And so seeking designation really does signify an accountable investment in our stewardship, not only of the environment, but our commitment to public health, or to public safety, to public education, and public awareness. And part of what I've heard from community stakeholders in Hamilton, but also in other municipalities that have achieved Blue Flag certification, is that it really did instill a sense of confidence, as well as predictable access to the public in being able to approach our waterfronts and our beaches. And that predictability of what to expect for travelers is something that all of us, when we travel to other municipalities, need to take into consideration, whether we have elderly folks with us who want to enjoy the outdoors, or folks who need that direct accessibility modification on the beachfront as well. So I would concur and happy to second the motion by Councillor by Councillor Francis, as well as the additional component about being able to articulate to the public the return on investment. It's one thing for us as sitting councillors around the table to talk about how this does help achieve confidence and that predictability of access, and giving both visitors as well as residents that information that they need to confidently go into our water. But from the public perspective, I think it would be important for that to be included in the report as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. So we will have the motion up now, and then Councillor Francis, Councillor,
Sorry, Chair, I'm just moving the referral because Councillor Francis spoke to it. So at the appropriate time, when everybody's done, just come back to me.
Okay,
Thanks.
sounds great. I don't think there's anyone else. Hands up. Councillor Wayne.
Just a question on the referral. What is the time frame for that?
I was going to ask that as well. So what's the time frame?
I get that we can probably talk till end of, I just want to get a sense for the.
Summer's almost here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know, maybe next. Director.
Through the chair, I would like to take a look at staff's work plan and take a look at the level of effort it would be required in order to do this. Certainly, I'm thinking beginning of next year at the earliest. Okay.
Thank you, and we appreciate that because I know your workload. I've spoken to you many times, and it's overwhelming sometimes, so thank you for that. So we're going, anyone else? Councillor Spadafora, then.
Okay, so I'll move the referral as was discussed earlier with the amendment from Councillor Kassar, seconded by Councillor Nan.
Okay, Thank you, everybody's clear, and we're going to do an e-vote on this one. Thank you. And it carries 13-0. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on, and we're going to go 9.2, Canada Public Transit Fund. May I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Maureen Wilson and Councillor Wan, thank you. And are there any discussions on 9.2? Councillor Wang.
Thank you. I think this is a good news story. Just a question to our acting director of transit. In terms of the time frame, I'm trying to remember when I read this. When do you need to have the phase 2 documentation in by? And are there any other resources that you might need in order to make this work?
Acting Director Purser, please.
Through the chair, Acting Director Nancy Purser, thank you for the question. We would like to submit this as soon as possible. It's just the final phase. They are anticipating it as they've actually awarded the funds already. They're just waiting for the capital plan.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay,
Those are all
thank
my
you.
questions.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone, so we'll have an e-vote, please. And it carries 13-0. Thank you. 9.3, amendments to the outstanding business list. May I please have a mover and a seconder? I'm going to go with Councillor McMeekin and Councillor Beatty. Thank you. Are there any discussions on the amendments to the outstanding business list? I don't see any, so we'll have an e-vote, please. Thank you. Thank you, and it carries 13-0. We're into motions now. 10, Councillor Maureen Wilson, would you like to introduce your motion? And do you have a seconder? And this is about appreciation designation to the Arkell Street, Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a seconder. Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you.
Therefore, be it resolved that the Transportation Division be directed to design, fabricate, and install commemorative signs to formally dedicate the block of Arkell Street from Newton Street to Paisley Avenue Street, Hamilton, as Arkell's Alley, to be funded from the Ward 1 Capital Discretionary Account 330-2309-100 at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $1,500. And B, that the General Manager of Public Works and City Clerk be authorized and directed to execute any required agreements and ancillary documents to formally dedicate the entire Arkell Street block, Hamilton, as Arkell's Alley, with such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. One time only. All aboard, I heard my sister say.
Oh, wow. Yay.
This is in recognition of something I believe all Hamiltonians are very proud of. And I thought it was past time that the Arkells be recognized in the Westdale Village, not just because they have been named the Group of the Year for the third year in a row in 2023, and I think they have been awarded that prize 6 times, which in and of itself is a historic standing at the Junos. It's not because they're able to fill a stadium. It's and the next one they will be filling, Chair, is June 21st at a rally at Hamilton Stadium. It's because of what they have given back to this community with their success. in which they remind us to always be proud of their North Star, let it guide us. They've told us about the importance of having a vision for the long run and to know our history, that we should look for champions in our leaders, but honest storytellers. And they've also told us the importance of sticking around to do the heavy lifting because it takes a village to make success. I appreciate the contribution that they have made for children, particularly in this city. And I know Councillor Nan, in terms of the basketball court investment and promotion that was done in Woodlands Park, feels the same. So to that end, it gives me great pride to bring this forward and to recognize the talent that really gelled and came together at McMaster University, the greatest university on the planet, in the greatest city on the planet, in Ward 1, which is pretty special. So it's for your consideration. I hope you will support it.
I was just thinking, Arkell's Alley has a great sound. It sure does. So thank you for bringing that. And we're going to vote on it. Oh, anyone else? Councillor Nan. All right.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for this motion. You know, there's not a lot of moments, I think, that we get an opportunity to celebrate and acknowledge and spread joy. And I feel like in many ways, this motion does exactly that. And it does it in a beautiful way that it ties it to our public infrastructure. So congratulations to Councillor Wilson for finding a way to do that and to absolutely honor a incredible talent homegrown here in Hamilton that does generously continue to give back to our municipality. Just wanted to get back on the microphone to remind folks that there is an opportunity to join us for the rally basketball game at Woodlands Park on Friday, right before the Arkell's concert on the 21st. So on June 20th at Woodlands Park, all of council is invited, the entire community is invited. We're going to have another basketball fun day. Thank you.
Thank you. That's exciting. All right, so it's anyone else? Councillor Wilson.
My apologies. If I could just express my gratitude to the amazing talent, Taryn Thomas, who is able to take her artistic vision and put them into signs. Taryn worked on a sign for the Ann Jones Memorial Street. Ann Jones, the first female to be appointed as regional chair in this city. And I know she will do good works again. And to Director Rael for being so cooperative on this file. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So we'll go on the e-vote and on this motion. Okay. Okay, that's different. Is it passed? Of course it's passed, but it's different on the, okay, 13-0, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to 10.2, and this is Councillor Snan motion, and I'll have her introduce it, and who's your seconder?
I forgot who my seconder is, Chair. Maybe
Oh,
my council colleagues can remind me who said yes. This was tabled as a notice of motion, and since then, my working memory is failing me. I apologize.
memory. I think Councillor Wang, okay. Councillor Wang.
Thank you, Councillor Huang. Appreciated. So through you, whereas neighborhoods deemed to be in poor condition through the city's asset management program do not have sufficient corresponding capital funding allocated to address resurfacing in a timely manner and are reliant on ward-based discretionary funds on occasions, especially when it relates to neighborhood roads. Whereas the following streets in Ward 3 were assessed by Engineering Services and Public Works and classified as very poor and or identified by the community and verified by city staff as in need of road rehabilitation to extend the life of the roadway and therefore improve service levels and reduce maintenance costs. So very poor was Connaught Avenue between Dunsmuir and Main Street. Very poor was Niagara Street between Monroe Street and Burlington. Very poor was St. Matthews Avenue between Barton and Burge, and also Douglas Avenue between Shaw Street and Mars Avenue. Poor classified was also Connaught Avenue South, but this was between King and Dunsmuir, Cheever Street at Shaw Street and Mars Avenue, Key Street between Emerald Street and Wentworth Street, and community identified as poor East Avenue North, which was between King and Burge. And whereas residents living adjacent to these roadways have advocated for safer streets and the need to address road surface deficiencies, and whereas the funding sources of the 2018 Surplus Neighborhood Road Priorities Account Canada Community Building Fund CCBF and Minor Maintenance Fund and Discretionary Ward 3 area rating funds are available to the ward councillor with council approval to be used for road resurfacing, therefore be it resolved that the staff implement this based on the money that is made available through these accounts as listed on the motion. And Chair, if I could just say a big thank you to engineering services, to road services. One of the most critical components for me was the integration of road resurfacing along with moving ahead with implementing some of our Complete Streets recommendations. Not only are we going to have smoother road surfaces for all road users, but we're also going to see some enhancements as it relates to speed cushions and other types of design pieces that could be facilitated within these works. I do want to say that this underinvestment historically over past decades of council terms, especially as it relates to road infrastructure in the lower city, has been something that's been flagged as the one top concern or one of three top concerns by residents in 2018, in 2022, and as well as in 2024 when we had our town hall meeting as well. So from that perspective, this is a direct response to Ward 3 residents who want to see infrastructure investment happen at a significant portion so that they can see the work is happening and that they no longer feel like their neighborhoods are being neglected based on postal code. So proud to move this motion. Thank you to all the residents who have also provided their feedback throughout this process. It's taken us a couple of years to get this omnibus kind of motion together, but we will see a lot of improvement through various neighborhoods across Ward 3. And if I could just really quickly to Director Rael, thank you so much to you and your team. There was a question from residents in the Keith neighborhood as it pertains to Cheever. And so if I can just go offline with you after this has been approved to make sure that some of those resident feedback components are factored in the final design before it gets implemented, that would be great. But if I could get confirmation that that would be the appropriate time and pathway to make sure that those very specific concerns get addressed.
Director Rael, she's shaking her head. Do you want to say it publicly? You're going to...
Good afternoon to the Chair, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. Absolutely, Councillor, we can connect after this, no problem.
Okay, thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you again to Councillor Huang for seconding.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on the e-vote. And it's carried 13-0. 10.3. Councilor Spadafora, would you like to introduce your motion? And do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Chair Pauls. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Matt Francis in regard to road rehabilitation on Farmer Court, Fawn Hill, Gilliard, Glibby Court, Glen Arms, Glen Eyre, Glen Haven, Cordon Street, Linden Road, Stanlow, all in Ward 14. That Public Works staff be authorized and direct to rehabilitate the road and associated concrete works as required on those above streets. All costs associated with the road resurfacing scope of work to be completed by engineering services be funded from the Ward 14 Capital Reinvestment Reserve 108064 for 1.6 million, and Ward 14 Minor Maintenance Account 40319111614 for 500,000. for an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed a total of $2.1 million, with design anticipated to commence this year and construction to be completed in 2026 for the following roads. I'm not going to read them again. That the general manager and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute any required agreements and ancillary documents with such terms and conditions and forms satisfactory to the city solicitor. And just a brief comment, thank you for staff. We are currently starting our projects that were approved last year in Ward 14 in resurfacing, and these projects for this motion will be started and hopefully completed in 2026. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very supportive of the motion, but it has prompted a question in me. I'm wondering through the chair, there was comment made by one of my colleagues, which is their right to do so, on the future of area rating and what we're using it for. To me, this use is in response to some pretty core assets. Do we report on the proportion of local roads that are rehabilitated by area rating versus those achieved through corporate funding?
That's a great
in reports?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who would like to, Director? Oh,
Acting General Manager.
Acting General Manager. I just looked at it, I said, no.
Thank you, Chair Pauls. Through you, I don't believe that that's a metric that we currently do analyze, Councillor. I think the question was if we delineate between investment in local roads using the transportation block more broadly versus the area rating funding. And I think it's an interesting question, but not one that we currently have data on.
Yeah. Thank you, Acting GM. Kennedy?
Thank you. Perhaps I could pursue, I think there's public interest perhaps in daylighting this, and I'll pursue it offline and try and bring something forward. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to the vote then, please, on 10.3. Doing 10.3. Okay, 13-0, thank you. Okay, the next three motions are going to the toilets, park toilets. All three of them, I couldn't believe it, all in a row. Yeah, well, yes, okay. So 10.6, Mount Hope Community Park Portable Toilet. Can Councillor Taddison, would you like to introduce your motion?
Oh, is it mine first?
Oh, 10. Oh, wait a minute. I'm 10.3. I flipped right to the last point. Okay. 10.4. Councillor Beatty first. Would you like to introduce your motion on behalf of Councillor Clark? And
certainly
does
would.
he have a seconder?
It's going to be seconded by Councillor Matt Francis. Thank you for not allowing me to circle the drain there. Moved by myself and seconded by fellow Stony Creeker, Councillor Matt Francis. Portable toilets to support Stony Creek Little League in various parks, Hamilton. Whereas Stony Creek Little League is offering a program at various city parks and ball diamonds, whereas not all parks have washroom facilities. Whereas the following locations have been programmed by Stony Creek Little League and do not have washroom facilities available, including Cherry Heights Park, Albion Estates Park, Ferris Park, Green Acres Park, and Paramount Park, whereas Stony Creek Little League has requested support for the provision of washrooms at the above listed locations, and whereas additional funding for the rental and cleaning of accessible portable toilets for the 2025 season through until November 9th, 2025 is required, therefore be it resolved that the provision of accessible portable toilets to support Stony Creek Little League be funded from the Stony Creek Compensation Royalties Fund 117036 at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $6,000, and that the General Manager of Public Works or designate be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all required agreements and ancillary documents with such terms and conditions in the forms satisfactory to the city solicitor related to portable toilets to support Stony Creek Little League, various parks in the city of Hamilton. And it's pretty self-explanatory, hoping for the support of my colleagues on this.
Thank you. And we'll go on the vote, please. Councilor Maureen Wilson, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I further to your comment that there's a theme on today's motion part of the agenda. I am curious, and I'm sure Councillor Crutch knows the answer to this, but does the municipality have a strategy in place for the rediscovery and reinvestment in public washrooms? Through the chair.
Oh, great question. And who will answer that? Is it director or?
Through the chair, Cynthia Graham, Director of Environmental Services, I'll start. So when we look at master plans for redevelopment for parks, we do take a look at amenities that are provided in those parks, desires from the community, and then plan accordingly. I am not aware of a strategic review of overarching washroom provision study for parks in the city. I know that they can be quite expensive and that we are looking from an asset life cycle standpoint. There's several that do need to be upgraded in the next while. So I know that there are investments coming into washrooms in parks, but as for the provision of additional facilities, I'm not aware of a strategic review to that effect.
Councillor.
Thank you. No, I am curious, and I've always been curious about this subject matter as municipalities moved away from looking at public washrooms as public infrastructure, and we saw the closure, of course, the most historic one being, I believe, downtown. So I think what I've heard from the director is whether one is included in a new park redevelopment it's dependent on a number of factors. It's not dependent on, say, the classification of that park. It's not dependent on the scope or the depth of the redevelopment. It's not dependent on whether there's a public washroom desert, for example, in certain parts of the city. It's not dependent on perhaps the demographics of the place. It's kind of, if there's deemed to be a need by, that may result through consultation. Through the chair.
Through the chair, all of the considerations that the councillor listed, I think would feed into a conversation about whether a new washroom facility is warranted at a particular location. But what I was trying to articulate was that I don't know of a study that says, here are the gaps and here are where new washrooms should be constructed. Rather, as parks come up for redevelopment, often it's something that is discussed and then decided whether that could be supported through that park master plan or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go on e-vote for 10.4, please. And it passes 13-0. Okay, I'm going to relinquish the chair to Councilor Matt Francis for my motion.
Go ahead.
And
Choose your
thank
motion
you.
and your seconder.
Yes, my seconder is Councilor Jackson. And I just want to note that I remember, I think 3 years ago when I put that, one of the councilors didn't know we could do this, and that started the ball rolling, kind of say. And but I want you to know that mine's a little bit different. Mine's at inch Mine's at Inch Park, accessible portable toilet. And I want to read just one of the whereof of my motion. It's an Inch Park, and it's a Queensdale, and it's for the Hamilton Challenger Baseball. It's an organization that provides sports to players with special needs. And I want you to know that they have over 190 players, 60 dedicated volunteers, and offers opportunity to those with development and physical disability to be empowered and asserted their independence through sports. So the importance for them to have this extra toilet was very important, because there is a community center where it's at the end that they could go, but they needed an extra one. So it was very important. So I've been helping them with this for the last, I think, 7 years that I've been in council. So I think this is important. So therefore, be it resolved that the provision of accessible portable toilets to support the Hamilton Challenger Baseball 2025 season to be funded from Ward 7 discretionary account number 3302309700 at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $2,000, and be approved, and that the general manager of Public Works or designated be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all required agreements and accessory documents with such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor related to the Inch Park accessibility portable toilet at Queensdale Avenue East, Hamilton. So this is important that we do this for them, and it's always a pleasure when I talk to Mike Moore, who has dedicated his life to this, to helping at Inch Park, and I love that park. It's going to be a great park to provide that. So I would love to have your support. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor. Not seeing any speakers on the speakers list, so we will move to the electronic vote on 10.5. That vote is up. And that carries 13-0. The chair is back to you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, 10.9, Mount Hope Community Park Portable Toilet. Councillor Taddison, would you like to introduce your motion and your seconder, please?
This is moved by myself and seconded by Ward 12, Councillor Cassar. Mount Hope Community Park Portable Toilet, 3027 Homestead Drive, Mount Hope. Whereas Mount Hope Community Park is used by multiple user groups, including Pembroke Bisons and Ancaster Little League, whereas significant improvements have been invested into the Ball Diamond at Mount Hope to attract and support the active community baseball programs. However, there's no access to washrooms on site for players or spectators. Whereas the Mount Hope Community Park also features a spray pad that attracts visitors from throughout Mount Hope Village and outlying communities who would benefit from washroom facilities, whereas additional funding for the rental and cleaning of the accessible portable toilet for the 2025 season through to September 2025 is required. Therefore, be it resolved that the provision of a portable toilet to the Mount Hope Community Park for the summer months, May to September, be funded from the Ward 11 non-property tax revenue account at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $1,500, and the Ward 12 non-property tax revenue account at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $500, be approved. That the general manager of Public Works or designate be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all required agreements and ancillary documents with such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. If I just may say, I would love to say thank you to Brian Carey and Parks for helping me to revitalize the Gord Oaks Ball Diamond in Mount Hope. Once, historically, this was used every night for men's fastball, slow pitch, and blooper ball, but renovations about a decade ago put a walking path through left field, and it left it unusable for men's league and removed the on-site permanent washrooms that were there. However, in consultation with Parks and investment from the Ward 11 non-property tax revenue funds, we now have new fences, and the Ball Diamond is safely set up for Little League and girls and women's fastball, and walking track users. So with the new uses for the park, we desperately need that porta potty. So I'd like to thank Councillor Kassar for teaming with me on this and recognizing that Ancaster has a vibrant hardball program and needed extra parks for Little League. Now this age group can utilize, and it's quick drive over down the, what would I call that? By Highway 6 bypass. So thank you very much, Councillor Kassar, for supporting this, and thanks to you, Councillor Pauls, for getting the first porta potty in a park. That's very needed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on and electronic vote, please. Oh, no, Councillor Kassar. Boy, there's a lot of discussion on toilets. It's
Just a quick word, if I may,
okay,
Chair.
a quick one.
As Councillor Tyson said, Ancaster Little League plays at this park, and it just demonstrates that ward boundaries are arbitrary and that people from Hamilton can use facilities all over the city. This is a great example of that. So really happy to participate with some of the funding in order to allow Ancaster Little League from Ward 12 to share a facility in another part of the city. Thank you.
That's great. Good, thank you. Evo, please. And it carries 13-0. 10.7, Councillor Francis, would you introduce your motion, and do you have a seconder?
Trolling for seconder. Councillor Beatty, can I dump you on there as a seconder?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's move on.
Henry and Beatrice Warden Park accessible toilets, 55 Lake Avenue North, Hamilton Ward 5. Therefore, be it resolved, A, that the provision of the accessible toilets be funded from the Ward 5 Capital Reinvestment Reserve 108055 at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $2,000. B, that the general manager, Public Works, or designate be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all required agreements and ancillary documents in such terms and conditions in form satisfactory to the city solicitor related to Henry and Beatrice Warden Park, 55 Lake Avenue North, Hamilton. Thank you.
And you don't want, that's all done?
That's all.
Okay, no speaking. Anybody else on the list? Okay, we're going to go Evo, please. Okay, 13-0, thank you. Okay, we're switching gears now. Okay, 10.8, installation of speed cushioning. Councilor Francis, would you like to introduce your motion? And who's your seconder, please?
Yeah, this is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Spatafora. And this is installation of speed cushions as a traffic calming measure on Montmorency Drive in Ward 5. I put this, a resident requested a petition and returned it within 24 hours. It was incredible. And got 73% of the homes overnight. That's resident Leah. I appreciate her bringing this back and being so concerned. So I'll read out, therefore be it resolved, A, that the Transportation Division be authorized and directed to install 2 speed cushions on Montmorency Drive at approximately 339/340 and 371/372 as a traffic calming measure and as part of Transportation 2025 Speed Cushions Installation Program. And B, that all costs associated with the installation of traffic calming measures be funded through the Ward 5 Capital Reinvestment Reserve 108055 and an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $6,000. And C, that the general manager of Public Works and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute any required agreements and ancillary documents in such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to Evo, please. No one's on the list to speak, so there we go. And it carries 13-0. Okay, 11, this is notice of motion, and we have Councillor McMeekin. Please introduce your notice of motion, and I want to ask you, are you suspending the rules? And do you have a seconder?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Spatafora to suspend the rules in order to allow introduction of a motion respecting Remembrance Day crosswalk design for the Waterdown Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 551 in my ward.
Okay, that's great. We'll go as a vote to suspend the rules. And okay, it's carried 13 to 0. Is it 12? Okay. I don't have my. Okay, all right, great. Thank you. All right, Councillor McMeekin, would you introduce your motion? And who's your seconder for the motion?
Councillor Spatafora is my seconder.
Okay, Councillor Spatafora.
Remembrance Day crosswalk design for the Waterdown Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 551. Whereas Remembrance Day marks the end of hostilities during the First World War, which ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Whereas on November 13th, 2023, Public Works Committee approved a motion directing the Transportation Division to investigate and prepare a Remembrance Day themed decorative crosswalk on King Street closest to the Stony Creek Salt Fleet Memorial in the name of honoring those served and who served and continue to serve in the nation's defense, whereas the Remembrance Day themed decorative crosswalk in Stony Creek has received positive feedback by many. Thank you, Councillor Beatty, and has been replicated by other municipalities. Whereas in 1954, the Waterdown branch of the Canadian Legion was established and later relocated to its current location on the corner of Hamilton Street North. It was founded in the memory of the men and women who gave their lives, trading their tomorrows for our todays in the First World War, and remains one of the many locations throughout the city where Remembrance Day is observed each year on November 11th. And whereas the Waterdown branch of the Canadian Legion has consulted with the Ward Councillor, Transportation on implementing a Remembrance Day theme decorative, as well as our Community Council. Therefore, be it resolved that the Transportation Division be directed to install Remembrance Day themed decorative crosswalks as approved by the Hamilton Veterans Committee on Hamilton Street North in the vicinity of the Waterdown branch of the Canadian Legion. Installation of the Remembrance Day themed decorative crosswalk be funded from the Ward 15 non-property tax revenue account. The number is there to an upset limit of $10,000, including contingencies and the obligatory reference to the general manager of Public Works, et cetera. That's the motion. Speaking to it briefly, I want to thank Director Rael for her assistance with this, and obviously to Councillor Beatty, who with his constituents pioneered this commemorative activity. The Legion, we have a very active Legion in Waterdown. On Friday, they had Red Day. About 600 people came out to celebrate deployment and first responders, and it was very well received. Through the Community Council, we have helped to fund, with concurrence of council, the Museum of Hope, a student-led project, which includes displays on the 80th anniversary of Dieppe, an Indigenous display unit at the Museum of Hope, as well as the Dutch Liberation, which is very big out in the rural Flamborough area. And also some banners of veterans that are hanging around the Legion of those who have given their lives in the service of this country. So this is a nice complement to that, a recognition which is very important in my community of the veterans. And I would appreciate the support of the Horseshoe. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, any speakers? All right, so we'll go to the vote. Okay, it's 12-0. Now, are there any other notice of motion? Councilor Francis?
Yeah, I'm going to leave this as a notice of motion, but I'll read it into the record. I'll leave it here for the next, whenever the next Public Works meeting is, I'm assuming a few weeks from now. If my colleagues want to have a discussion with me offline about it, if they see any adjustments that they want to recommend. Titled, Use of Local Steel for Right-of-Way Signage Posts. Whereas the city of Hamilton has historically utilized long-lasting galvanized steel posts for roadway signage such as parking signs, stop signs, and right-of-way signage. Whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, city staff made an internal decision to substitute these steel posts with 4x4 treated wooden posts due to a temporary rise in steel prices. Whereas the wooden posts being used are significantly less durable with an estimated lifespan of 5 to 8 years compared to 20+ years typically offered by galvanized steel posts, resulting in higher long-term maintenance and replacement and staffing costs, whereas treated wooden posts are difficult to responsibly dispose of due to the chemical compounds used to elongate their lifespan and ultimately must be landfilled at the end of their service life. Whereas the end-of-life steel posts are highly recyclable, and steel recycling is considered a crucial component of the circular economy, whereas Hamilton has a proud identity as a steel city and has repeatedly emphasized the importance of buying local and supporting local industry, particularly in light of the ongoing U.S. tariffs that threaten Canadian steel exports. Therefore, be it resolved that staff report back to Public Works Committee with a plan that prioritizes Hamilton Steel for roadway signage posts, including cost implications. I simply was surprised when I was going downtown Stony Creek, some minor parking changes were made, and they were using these quite out of place 4x4 wooden posts. It sparked some questions, and here we are with this motion. I'll leave that there.
Thank you. And you will send it to all of us, right? So we could look at it? That's great, and it's a notice of motion for the next Public Works meeting. All right, guess what? It's adjournment, everyone. We don't even have to vote. Have a great afternoon. Okay, thank you.